Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Let's Translate Light Novels. Once again, on the day that I set aside to film, it happened to be very hot, so I am doing just my voice recording and avatar for this episode and for the next episode yet again. For those of you who are new to this series, in this series we take an old obscure light novel, Seiran Den, which is one of the prequel light novels to the anime and manga series Fushigi Yugi. It's about Nakago's past. And my patrons get some of this text in advance, and they have an opportunity to translate it, and I critique their translations in these videos, as long as translations that I did when I was 18 and was not very good at Japanese or at translating it. If you want to be in this patron group, just join my Patreon at the $12 level, and you will get not only the text to the next month's videos in advance, but you get an opportunity to translate it and turn in your translations to me to be featured in these videos if you want. Anyway, check out the video description for disclaimers and to credit the translators that are featured in this video, and let's jump into it. So this is after Ayuru and Talia have had their little, nice moment by the lake. She gave him flowers, and it's his birthday and everything, and they're gonna go home. So, narration. 鍵に始めた日を気にして二人が近道を急いでいた時だった。I read that really badly. I'm trying to leave some pauses in, so it's easier to understand what I'm saying. The next sentence, 行く手に二つの影が立ちふさがった。同じ年頃の苦闘の少年たちだった。Alright, so these three sentences. So, 影に始める is like to begin to set, basically, begin to slope down. He is the sun, and in this case it's kind of more associated with the setting sun. Okinishite, so concerned by the low angle of the setting sun. 二人が近道を急いで, so the two hurried along a shortcut. And then ita, they were doing this. Toki datta, so this device in narrative Japanese, その時だった or 時だった, like after a verb, it's kind of like just when they were doing this action, then it happened. It kind of has that feeling to it. So it's like, then it happened kind of thing. Yukuteni, so in the direction they were going, 二つの影が立ちふさがった. So these two silhouettes, literally it's shadows, but silhouette is usually a better way of translating it in this case, were standing there, like blocking their path. 同じ年頃の, so the same age, 苦闘の少年たちだった, boys of Kuto, the country. So, patron A translated that as, the sky darkening above them, the two hurriedly took a shortcut back home. Suddenly, two figures blocked their path, Kuto boys the same age as them. Nice use of the M dash there, so see, those two sentences at the end, patron A combined into just one sentence with an M dash, because the second sentence is directly related to the first sentence, so it does make sense to connect them with an M dash. I also like how patron A left out the whole kinishite, like worried about or concerned about, and just did it as the sky darkening above them, comma, the two hurriedly took a shortcut back home. Like, you can already tell from they quickly took a shortcut back home and the sky's darkening. It's like, well, that's why they're taking the shortcut, because the sky's darkening. They gotta get home before dark. Patron B. The pair hurried along a shortcut, mindful that the sun was beginning to set. So in this case, patron B chose to translate kinishite as mindful. I lately actually have taken to translating kinisuru and those kinds of things as mindful. It works pretty well, actually, because mindful, like, concerned about or worried about has, like, negative connotations to it, but kinisuru is not always necessarily negative, so mindful is really nice, because it's like keeping in mind, noticing. It covers a wide array of, like, emotions and like, verbs and stuff. So, yeah, mindful is a great catch-all translation for kinisuru. And all permutations. Along the way, they came across two Kuto boys who looked to be around their age. Yeah, who looked to be you don't even need, I mean, that's not even in the original Japanese. So yeah, you don't even need the look to be. Two Kuto boys who were around their age. It's not wrong, it's not, like, bad necessarily. You just don't really need it. And then Small Sarah translated it as the two children It's like we already established who these characters are. Calling them the two children is a little weird. Concerned about the darkening sky, hurried up a hill. This works as well, like concerned for kinishite. Like in this context, kini suru does mean more like they're worried, they're concerned, so concerned works just fine. In front of them, two shadows appeared. Again, you don't necessarily want to translate it as shadows. Well, it could be shadows because the sun is setting. They were from Kuto, hyphen, I guess small Seiran meant an M dash. She did not know about M dashes back then. This was in 1999. Boys around the same age as them. So yeah, just replace the hyphen with an M dash and that works really well. They were from Kuto. Boys, well, actually it doesn't work very well. They were from Kuto. Boys around the same age as them. Like if the M dash came after yeah, I don't know. Like, the M dash after Kuto implies that the next part of the sentence, like, describes Kuto, but it's not. It's describing the boys. So it's a little odd order there. But, none of the words are wrong. It's all translated, like, correctly. It just reads weird in English. Okay, the next line of Japanese, we've got dialogue. Oi, koko wa orera no ryouchi da zo. Katte ni hairu na. All right, so, oi, it's like, hey. But it's like a rude way of saying hey. I mean, if you're Cockney accent, like oi works super well, actually. This is like one of the many instances in which I were allowed to translate this into like a British vernacular, because like a lot of these things work out so much better in British English. Okay, koko wa, this place, orera no ryochi. So ryochi is like territory, basically. This is our turf, this is our territory. Katte ni hairu na. And this is all very rude speech, like dazo, hairu na, like all that kind of endings to sentences. It's kind of like abrupt, short, curt, rude. Katte ni hairu na, don't come here without our permission, basically is what that literally means. So patron A translated that as, hey, this is our territory. Don't barge in like you own the place, said one boy. So patron A added a dialogue tag there, which is fine. I mean, there's another line of dialogue immediately after this by the other boy, so it makes sense to add that tag. Don't barge in like you own the place for katte ni hairu na. That's cool. Yeah, like katte ni is one of those words that's like, it can be translated many, many different ways. Like a catch-all translation of it is like without permission. Like without my permission, basically. So like you own the place works really well there as well. Patron B, hey, this is our turf, one called out. You can't be here. Ooh, you can't be here is fine for katte ni hairu na. Like, it again, it's not literally like, don't come here without our permission. But like, don't come here without our permission sounds kind of, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird here. Patron B kept this nice and short and like snippy like it was in Japanese. And I like the italicized our turf. And the tag in the middle of the line. I like that. Like, if a person's dialogue that's a new character is two sentences, it usually is helpful to put the tag, like, between the two sentences, just so the reader knows who's talking. All right, small Sarah translated this as, hey, this is our land. Don't just barge in like that. Like that. And barge in, I don't know, that more implies like it's a house or something. They're barging inside somewhere rather than just, like, land. They're just walking around. Again, it's not wrong. It just sounds a little weird. Like that. Okay, next line of dialogue. The other boy. Hinzoku nanka zuka zuka ashi o fumi irare I love all these la 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 la. Tongue twister. Tochi ga kegareru janai kayo. I wanted to make him rougher than he actually was. Tochi ga kegareru janai kayo. All right, so Hinzoku nanka, so Hinzoku, that's the tribe that Ayuru and Talia belong to. Nanka, so this nanka, if you add this after a noun, it's like scoffing the noun. It's like spitting while you're saying the noun. It's like stupid Hinzoku, or damn Hinzoku, or bad Hinzoku. Insert pejorative here. Zuka zuka ashi o fumi iredaretara. So to drag your feet, tromping around in here. Tochiga, the earth, the ground, the land. Kegareru, to be made dirty. Janai kayo. So in this case, this janai ka, it's not negating. It's not saying the earth, the land around here will not get dirty. It means, like, hey, don't you realize that, you dragging your grubby heen feet around our territory will like, soil the land. We'll make it, that was a fun pun there. Soil the land. Land is soil. We'll make the land dirty, or whatever. That's, like, literally what that all means. So, Patron A translated that as, yeah, our land would get mucked up if we let heens like you just stomp around, the other added. So again, another tag here, just to clarify that these are different characters saying lines and not Talia and Ayuru. It's very, very helpful, I find, generally, when you translate light novels or novels. The more characters there are in a scene, the more necessary it is to add tags shamelessly with wild and reckless abandon. Because in Japanese, it's easier to tell that different people are talking because of, like, pronouns that Japanese has that English doesn't, or, like, word endings or verb conjugations. Like, you can generally tell which character is speaking by all of those things in Japanese, but it's a lot harder to tell in English. It's a lot more subtle. So tags are really useful. Mucked up. I like mucked up. If we let heens like you just stomp around for zuka-zuka ashi o fumi ireraretara. Yeah, I dig that. Or let them get mucked up if we let heens like you just stomp around. I like the just. Patron B. If you heen are able to just barge in and go wherever you want, then our land will be ruined, the other added. This is a little too, like, I don't know, wordy and logical, and not, like, it's not snappy enough, I'd say. It's not wrong. It's a correct translation of the words. Not quite the right character voice. Small Sarah. If people of, and for some reason there's no beginning quote. Oh yeah, Small Sarah thought that this was the same character talking twice. It's not. It's two different characters. So anyway, Small Sarah. If people of the heen race, again, don't use race. They're not a race. They're a people. Stomp through here, the land'll get all dirty. I like the land'll, the contracted land, to make them sound like, rougher characters. Get all dirty is kind of weird. It's more like, filthy, mucked up. Dirty's kind of odd because, like, of course the land is dirty. It's covered in dirt. People of the heen race is kind of weird too for, like, a kid yelling at people. All right, next line of dialogue. どうして私たちだって不等国の民なのよ? So that's a line of dialogue. 机上にもタリアが言い返した. All right, so どうして? Why? 私たちだって so even us, you may be this way, but we are also this way. 私たちだって不等国の so of Kuto kingdom, 民なのよ. We are citizens. We are people of Kuto, just like you. 私たちだって。机上にも so that's like bravely. タリアが言い返した so Talia, like, snapped back at them or said back at them. Retorted. Patron A translated that as, and why's that? We're people of Kuto too, Talia fired back with pride. Ooh, I like the with pride. Fired back with pride for kijo ni mo. Yeah, kijo ni mo, like bravely, pridefully, proudly, defiantly, I think would also work pretty well because it's combined with the verb ikaesu. I dig it. Patron B. Why? Talia shot back. Ooh, I like that. We're people of Kuto as well. And yeah, again, I like, it might be a little unclear to English readers that this is Talia saying the line if you put the tag, like, all at the end. I think it's helpful to do what Patron B did and do why, and then the tag, Talia's shot back. We're people of Kuto as well. So notice, like, shot back, it combines the feeling of, like, kijo and ikaesu together into, like, one verb, shot back. It gives you that image of, like, her defiantly standing up to the bullies, basically. I like that. We're people of Kuto as well. I would rather, like, we're just as much people of Kuto as you are, or we're people of Kuto just like you. I think this datte, it is weird to translate. It's weird to conceptualize. But yeah, I think just like you is a really good translation for datte in this sense. Small Sarah translated it as, "Why? We're all from the same country. Kuto," Taria retorted stout-heartedly. Wow, stout-heartedly. Small Sarah must have looked up kijo in the dictionary and it said stout-heartedly, and she's like, that's what it means. I don't know, stout-heartedly works. It's interesting. I don't think I'd ever seen that word ever before. But yeah, that works. We're all from the same country. Kuto. Like an M dash probably would have worked better than a comma there. But yeah, we're Kuto citizens, just like you. We're all from the same country. Dig it. Okay, next line of dialogue. This is the bully again. Nandato, doko ga kutokoku tami nandayo. Not nandayo, just doko ga kutokoku tami dayo. Sono kami ya me no iro wa nandayo. Katte ni hito no kuni ni sumitsuki yagatte. All right, this is some pretty mean things that this kid is saying. All right, so nandato, say what? What did you say? Doko ga kutokoku tami dayo. So kutokoku tami is like people of Kuto. I wonder if there was a no in there and I didn't transcribe that properly. It might be kutokoku no tami dayo. Because that's what Talia said earlier. It probably is, and I probably just transcribed that incorrectly. Oh well, the meaning is still the same. So doko ga, like what about you is, like tell me, like what part about you is Kuto, like Kuto citizen, my ass. Sono kami ya me no iro. So sono in this case is your. Kami and me, your hair and eye color. Wa nandayo, like what's with that hair and eye color of yours? Katte ni, again this katte ni without our permission. We're like you own the place. Hito no kuni ni sumitsuki yagatte. So sumitsuku, like this tsuku auxiliary verb is sort of like to like attach yourself onto something. So like sumitsuku is like to plant yourself somewhere, like where you don't belong, is kind of the implication here. Hito no kuni, so in this case, hito no kuni is like somebody else's country. So like, and then this yagatte auxiliary verb at the end of sumitsuki, yagaru, yagatte, it's like you've got some nerve, like planting yourself in somebody else's country without their permission is kind of what this means. So I gave my patrons a little note actually at when I sent out this month's text sample. And I'm just gonna like talk about it a little bit briefly here. So yeah, just a quick note here that when you're translating a story that deals with sensitive subject matter like racism or sexism or homophobia and all that, you need to be extra careful with the words that you choose. And in this story, the Heen here are discriminated against, but they're basically white people. And it's pretty clear from the text that the Japanese author who wrote this story for a Japanese audience did not intend for the message of this story to be, oh, white people are oppressed actually. Her message was pretty clearly racism bad, xenophobia bad. So just keep the author's intentions in mind when you translate sensitive text like this, because you definitely don't want to send the wrong message. Anyway, Patron A translated it as, "What did you say? I don't see anything Kuto about you two," the first boy scoffed. "Look at your weird hair and eyes. You're just living here without our say-so." So yeah, weird hair and eyes. Instead of sono kami ya me no iro, so in Japanese it mentioned the color of your hair and eyes. Patron A just said weird hair and eyes. Wa nandayo. It still maintains like the sentiment of what that boy was saying. The boy was saying like, yeah, your hair and eyes are weird. They don't match ours. You don't belong here. You're just living here without our say-so. Without our say-so is kind of weird. Yeah, like without our permission would actually kind of work pretty well here. Without our say-so, I don't know. Like, just to me, it sounds weird. It might just be me. I don't see anything Kuto about you two. I kind of like that wording for doko ga Kuto koku no tami da yo. And I like the first boy scoffed as the dialogue tag. Because if you look at, like, again, like the tsukiyagatte, like all of those, and yo and dayo, for all the sentence endings, it's very rude and kind of scoffy and sharp. So the first boy scoffed is a good dialogue tag. Patron B, "Yeah, right," the first boy exclaimed. I don't know about exclaimed. Exclaimed to me kind of goes like, "Yeah, right! Aha, eureka!" I don't know. Could just be me, but I like the sarcasm. Yeah, right. No way you're from Kuto. What's wrong with your hair and eyes? You're living in our country without permission. I like what's wrong with your hair and eyes for sono kami yame no iro wa nandayo. I like this one, except exclaimed. Exclaimed just sounds kind of weird. I like no way you're from Kuto. I dig it. Okay, small Sarah. What did you say? What part of you is Kuto? What's with the color of your hair and eyes? You're just barging in on other people's territories. Again, this like barging in on is kind of weird, and it's not even that in the original Japanese. It's sumi tsukiyagatte, like you're living in other people's territory. Weird wording, like not necessarily entirely wrong translation, except for the barging in is kind of weird. Good effort, small Sarah. All right, the next line of dialogue. そうだよ、おまけに天候なんかを崇めやがって。俺たちの国の守り神は清流じゃねえか。Aha, finally we do a じゃねえか。天候は魔物だ。あれは汚らわしい魔人だ。With 4 exclamation points. Okay, そうだよ. That's right, or he's right. おまけに, what's more, or the cherry on top, or to boot. And that kind of thing would usually come at the end of the sentence, not the beginning. Tenko nanka, so this nanka, nante, tenko, pah, it's like scoffing at tenko. Wo agame yagatte, so again, this yagaru, auxiliary verb ending, like you dare, or you have the conceit, you dare worship agame, that tenko of all deities, Oretachi no kuni no mamorigami, the guardian deity of our country is Seiryu, Janeka. So this Janeka is like, don't you know that? Or everyone knows that. Or duh. Seiryu is our guardian deity in Kuto. Tenko wa mamono da. Mamono is like evil, an evil thing, a monster. Are wa kegarawashi majin da. So a majin is, if you look at the kanji, it's like a demon god. Demonic god, dirty devil, demon, devil. So that's a filthy that, arewa, so in reference to Tenko. Tenko is a filthy demon, devil. Patron A translated that as, that's right, plus you worship Tenko or whatever his name is. The protector of our country is Lord Seiryu. That Tenko is just a devil, a dirty devil. So I like or whatever his name is for Nanka, but it doesn't necessarily work well in this context because, like, the kid knows that who Tenko is. I don't know, unless he's, like, making fun of him, like Tenko or whatever his name is. I guess that kind of works. Patron B. That's right, the second boy agreed. Another tag. That's very helpful. Plus, you people worship Tenko. Don't you know our guardian is Seiryu? Tenko is a demon, a filthy devil. I like the wording here. It's like very direct, and I like the use of italics in our guardian is Seiryu. You people. I also like you people. That's a subtle way of like othering and like scorning and looking down. Like those people or you people. Works pretty nicely. Okay, small Sarah. Yeah, and on top of that, you worship that Tenko thing. That's actually not necessarily so bad. This is a kid talking. Isn't the god who protects our country Seiryu? That's worded a little too, I don't know. It would make more sense, like, isn't Seiryu our guardian deity? Isn't the god who protects our country Seiryu? Tenko's a devil, just a dirty demon. Once again, an attempt at an M-. Wow, I wish that small Sarah had known about M-. I think she would have had a lot of fun with M-. But yeah, this is correct, just that isn't the god who protects our country Seiryu is just kind of a little bit weird wording. Again, when you say it out loud, it's a lot clearer that it's weirdly worded. Another line of dialogue. 違うわ! Ayuru wa Taria no te o tsukami, sono mama tori sugiyou to shita. So this 違うわ, you can tell that this is Talia talking because there's the wa. Well, that's a very feminine way of ending a sentence. And then that small tsu at the end in katakana, what that's doing is it's adding a glottal stop. So it's 違うわ! Like there's a snap to the end of it instead of 違うわ! It's like 違うわ! It's like very snappy and sharp. That's what that small tsu is doing. And then like, you're wrong, or no, is basically 違うわ. That's not true. Ayuru wa Talia no te o tsukami. So Ayuru grabbed Talia's hand, and just like that, sonomama torisugiyo to shita. So tried to, attempted to, or was about to just pass by the two boys. So patron A translated that as, "No, you're wrong," Talia protested. That works as a tag. Ayuru grabbed Talia's hand, and the two of them tried to walk past. It's more like Ayuru was trying to walk past. Because Talia was, kind of standing her ground and wanting to fight back and talk back to these kids. But Ayuru was like, let's just shut up and leave, basically. Patron B, "Take that back," Talia demanded. "I like that." It's not what it was originally, but I think it's a reasonable extrapolation from, like, "You're wrong. Take that back" is good. Talia demanded. I like the demanded tag. Protested, demanded, those are good tags. And again, you're not grabbing these tags out of thin air. That small tsu in katakana really does a lot of heavy lifting here. It really shows you just how Talia sounds when she's saying this line. Like, shouted would work as well. Ayuru took Talia's hand and tried to walk past the boys. I like that. That's pretty much exactly what it was. Small Sarah translated it as, "You're wrong." That works too. Could have used a tag. Ayuru grabbed Talia's hand with the intent of just ignoring the boys and continuing on home. I mean, this is technically correct. It's just like, I don't know, it's a little too matter-of-fact. With the intent of just ignoring the boys and continuing on home. Like, this is a really tense and, like, uncomfortable scene. It's like, it sounds a little too, like, matter-of-fact for what's going on here. Next line of dialogue, "Nigeru kayo, gaijin." And then a big small tsu again. So this bully is, shouting, snapping at them. So, "Nigeru kayo," it's like, "Oh, running away, huh?" Or, "Oh, you're trying to run away." Gaijin, and then gaijin is a very rude way of calling someone an outsider or a foreigner. Patron A translated that as, "Oh, so the foreigners are running away?" The second boy sneered. I like that tag, the second boy sneered. Yeah, and it does have this kayo ending is like, "Oh, so blah da blah da blah." That's a really good way of thinking about kayo. Patron B, "You can't run away from us, you filthy trespassers." Trespassers kind of works for gaijin here. Like, outsiders is a little more literally what it is, but, like, if you are an outsider and you're on, like, somebody's land according to them, then you are, by definition, a trespasser. And, like, I like having a tag in there, but it is pretty obvious that it is one of the bullies saying this by the words that are in the line of dialogue, so it doesn't need a tag. And then small Sarah, "Ha, running away, eh, you dirty foreigner." Yeah, dirty foreigner is, like, pretty textbook, like, gaijin. Dirty foreigner. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of like outside, I don't know, foreigner's fine. Yeah, and then this "ha," running away, eh, like the "ha," comma, something or another, "eh," also works for kayo.
Oh, I see. Running away, you yellow bastard!
Next line, "Shounen tachi ni dotsukarete, Ayuru wa sono ba ni koroge taoreta." So, ni dotsukarete. So this is passive voice. So, like, punched, knocked by the boys, comma, Ayuru wa sono ba ni koroge taoreta. So Ayuru, like, fell down, collapsed on the spot. When hit by the boys. So passive voice there. Patron A translated that as, "The two of them ran up and punched Ayuru, knocking him to the ground." I like that Patron A changed this to active voice instead of passive. That you generally want to do that, especially in an action scene like this. Patron B, "Ayuru was hit by the boys and he fell to the ground." So note how this, like, just doesn't have as much punch when it's kept in passive voice. Was hit by the boys and he fell to the ground. It doesn't feel like it's happening right now. Like, the two of them ran up and punched Ayuru, knocking him to the ground, feels a little more like it's actually happening, and like it's happening as I'm reading it, whereas Ayuru was hit by the boys and he fell to the ground feels a little more like it was like a newspaper headline or something, like something that happened in the past, and it just doesn't have as much impact. Like, it's not wrong, but it just doesn't have the same impact. Small Sarah, Ayuru was pushed by the boys and fell down with a thud. I kind of like the fell down with a thud. But yeah, again, no passive voice. Was pushed by the boys. No. Next line of dialogue. Ayuru! Again, small tsu in katakana, so it's showing that it's like a yelp, a very sharp yelp. Taria ga kakeyotta. So kakeyoru, like run up to. So Ayuru, Talia screamed, running up to him, is kind of how I would translate that. Patron A translated as, Ayuru! Talia cried, running up to him. I dig that. Patron B, Ayuru! Talia screamed and knelt down to tend to him. And then not Patron C, small Sarah, Ayuru! Taria cried, running after him. Running after him is kind of weird because it implies that Ayuru is still running. Like if she's running after, like he fell to the spot, so she ran up to him, not after him. Okay, that is the end of this part of Let's Translate Light Novels. Be sure to tune in either next week or the week after when I post the next installment of the series. And at this point, I'd like to thank my patrons, both the patrons who participated in the translations of this video and the patrons who contributed financially. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Greg, Lay, Henry Rooming, and Data Fox. See you next time!